She does it every single morning. Stands by the stairs, her little head tilted, waiting. The second the door creaks open, she calls out. Not just any sound, but one filled with so much love, so much longing. She knows. She always knows. It's him. And when he leaves for work, she calls again. A soft, pleading sound, like she's asking, "Are you sure you have to go?" Every single morning, without fail. But the moment he comes home, the second that door swings open, she's right there, waiting, watching. And the way she lights up, the way she rushes toward him, it's something I've never seen before. Not even with me. And I'm the one who brought her home. It's the piano, too. She has this special little headbang she does whenever he plays. And it's not just any music, it's his music. She knows. She can tell the difference. When I try, nothing. She doesn't even react. But the second his fingers touch the keys, she sways. She bobs her head in this silly little dance that she reserves only for him. It hit me then. This wasn't just a bond. This wasn't just affection. She had chosen him. He was hers. I still remember the first time she sat on his chest. She tilted her head, blinking up at him. And I swear, it was like she was saying, "Okay, you belong to me now." And when he reached up, scratching her tiny head, she leaned into his hand like she'd been starved for it. And maybe she had. Because before him, before us, she had no one. Her name is Popey. And before she became part of our family, she spent her life waiting. Waiting for someone who never came back. I first found her during quarantine. Like a lot of people, I was searching for something to bring light into the quiet, lonely days. And I had this thought, maybe a bird, maybe a cockatoo, maybe we could give a home to someone who needed one. That's when I found her profile. It was on a shelter page called Birdline, and she had been listed there for over a year and a half. A year and a half. I kept thinking, why hasn't anyone adopted her? She looked so sweet, so small, so full of life, even in just a picture. And yet, no one had taken her home. So we set up a meeting, and the moment I saw her in person, I knew. She wasn't just a bird looking for a home. She was a soul who had been waiting far too long for someone to love her back. Her story was heartbreaking. Her previous owner had left her in an emergency boarding facility, just for 2 weeks. That's what they said. 2 weeks. But 2 weeks became a month. And then no one came back for her. Can you imagine that? Waiting. Hoping. Watching people come and go until eventually you realize they're not coming back. After that, she was transferred to Birdline. Another strange place. Another new environment. More waiting. More hoping. But this time, it wasn't 2 weeks. It wasn't a month. It was over a year before we found her. And when we brought her home, I expected it to take time. Some birds take weeks, even months to adjust, to feel safe, to learn to trust again. But not Poppy. 2 days. That's all it took. 2 days, and it was like she had always been part of our lives. But what shocked me the most, what I never saw coming, was the bond she formed with him. She chose my husband, Oliver, instantly. She would sit on his chest for hours, pressing herself against him like she was afraid he'd disappear if she moved. At first, we thought it was just affection, a cute little quirk. But then we realized it was something deeper. It was need. She had been abandoned before. She had spent so long being alone, waiting for someone to come back. And now that she had finally found her person, she wasn't going to let go. With me, she was affectionate, but with Oliver, she was something else entirely. She was devoted. She followed him everywhere. If he left the room, she'd shuffle to the edge of her perch, watching the doorway, waiting for him to return. If he sat down, she was on his chest, curling into him like he was the safest place in the world. And if he ever, God forbid, left the house, she would wait by the stairs, calling, watching, hoping. And when he came back, the joy in her little body was overwhelming. She'd chirp, she'd nuzzle against his hand. She'd make these soft, happy sounds like she was saying, "You came back. You really came back." I won't lie. At first, I was a little jealous. I was the one who found her. I was the one who made the decision to bring her home. But she had chosen him, and I could never take that away from her. I think in her heart, she always believed she had a mate out there, someone who belonged to her. And when she met Oliver, she knew. I'll never forget the first time I saw her tilt her head at him, that silent little request for scratches, and how easily he reached out, like it was second nature, like they had known each other in another life. She wasn't just a pet. She was family. That's why I always tell people, adopt. Don't shop. There are so many animals out there, waiting. So many souls who have already loved someone, already given their hearts away, only to be left behind. And when you give them a second chance, when they learn to love again, there's no greater feeling in the world. Poppy taught me that. She taught me that love isn't about who gives it first, but who holds on. And when she chose Oliver, she held on with everything she had. So every morning, she waits. Every evening, she celebrates. Every night, she curls up close, knowing that this time, her person is never leaving. And if you've ever considered adopting, if you've ever thought about bringing someone home, I hope you remember Poppy's story. Because somewhere out there, right now, another soul is waiting, watching, hoping, and maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for you.